So thank you all for being here at learning about vaping. We do have two presenters. We're going to share a little bit about ourselves in a minute, but just do keep in mind that we are recording tonight. We will get you the recording after the training if we have your contact information. People in the room get wonderful things that you all don't get that are online, such as treats, but you guys could have your own treats, so that's okay. But they're also getting a copy of the presentation. So, and there's actually one thing that I added to your training packet that other people aren't getting too, but if you would like that, we can get that to you. So we really need you to do the evaluation at the end of the training, and we'll get you that link as we're going through things. So a little bit about myself. I'm Kathy Schwartzhoff. I have been at Helping Services for over 30 years. I've been a certified prevention specialist, which means I know some things about drugs, alcohol, problem gambling, those kinds of things. So I've been in the field for over 25 years, and in mentoring, tomorrow will be the 25th year, December 1st. Yeah. So that's kind of fun. I actually realized that when I was prepping for this. I was like, hey, that's really cool. So I have a husband, I have 3 grown children, I have 3 wonderful grandgirls and a super cute grand boy. So that's a bit about me. Jenny, what would you like to share?
Well, congratulations, Kathy, 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm Jenny Rose, and I also work for Helping Services, and I've been with the agency for 8 years, and I'm an advanced certified prevention specialist. So focusing on alcohol, tobacco, other drugs, and then also problem gambling prevention. And I did just recently take a new position as the Clayton County Youth Mentoring Coordinator. So I'll be changing into that role here soon. Married with also to a Joe, and I have a son and a daughter. So no grandkids yet, but they're pretty little still. So someday maybe. But I am also stepping in for our tobacco prevention coordinator as she is on maternity leave. So if there are questions that come about that I don't know the answer to, I will be sure to just say that and get you the answers you're looking for.
We're going to talk a little bit about why youth mentoring is doing presentations on substance abuse prevention. And it really doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we want kids to be happy and we want them to be healthy. But just a little commercial for mentoring. We serve youth between the ages of 6 and 16 in Alameda, Howard, Winneshiek, and Delaware counties. And as Jen said, she will be starting in Clayton County soon. And then there's work being done in Southern Fayette as well. And is Sam Jennerjohn on the call? I'm not sure if I saw her on.
No, Kathy, she's not.
Okay. So Colleen, do you want to share a little bit more about mentoring and anything you want everybody to know?
Sure. So as Kathy said, we serve youth ages 6 to 16 in Alameda, Clayton, Howard, Southern Fayette, and Winneshiek now. We have different funding sources through federal grants, state grants, county grants, all that. And we match mentors with youth, always looking for mentors for our waiting youth. And I think that's the quick rundown of what youth mentoring is.
All right. Thank you. We want to look at what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about why we're here, look at local youth use, and get an idea of what vaping really is, because like we've already talked about, there's some myths out there. There's also a lot of facts that people aren't aware of, and that's some of what we want you to get tonight. the harmful effects, because it is actually frightening how much nicotine there is in these products. It's phenomenal. And but that they're being portrayed as something that can help you not smoke is beyond me, because it's using more nicotine than what you were before that. And we'll get in more into that. But talking too about the effects, what e-cigarettes are, what we can do individually, talking to youth and also as communities. And at any point, please ask questions, because that's what we're here for. So, why are we doing this? It's because we care about kids and we care about our communities and we want to find out more. We're actually going to see some of the products that are being used. Jenny's going to go over those and show the actual ones that are being used here in Iowa, and understand how harmful they are, and to learn more about, again, like what we can do. So from time to time, we're going to do a little myth or fact type of thing. So you need to tell me either by the chat or by unmuting, or here in the room, just don't shout, but just tell us what you're thinking. So in 2021, according to the Iowa Youth Survey, about a quarter, or 28%, of 11th grade students in Iowa reported ever using a vaping product. Do you think that number is on the money? Do you think that's above and below? Is it a myth or is it a fact?
A lot of facts in the chat.
Okay, a lot of facts. Somebody here said it seems really high. And what else did you guys say?
You just said it's on the paper.
It's not, is it?
It's right here.
Oh, it's on one of their cheat sheet things. Okay. I made sure it wasn't on your
I was
slide.
gonna say it's a little bit tight on that.
It is a fact that it's about 28%. So that gets us into our next slide. And on this slide, you can see the various counties that are represented here, and they are all of them that we cover except for Howard County. And the reason for that was the date of this survey was 2021. Schools were just coming out of COVID. And I believe school administrators said, our students can't do one more thing. We've got to work on learning. And so that was probably what happened in Winnebago County. But in the counties that did respond, it's always good to look at that first bar, because that's the entire state of Iowa. So as our fact thing just said, it was 28% of 11th graders have ever used, and then 12% were 8th graders and 5% were 6th graders. Kids are telling us in schools that there are many youth that are starting earlier than 6th grade. And we've had our mentees even say that too, that it's starting much younger than what it used to. So you can kind of look at either the county that you live in, or the county that you work in, or the county that you have friends or neighbors, relatives in, to kind of get an idea of the difference in each of the counties for use. And one thing too that is interesting, the state of Iowa in 2023, 20.1% of Iowa high school students reported that they are using e-cigarettes, which is about 6% higher than the national level. So that's kind of interesting to hear. How do we compare with national rates? So a little bit of information on that. And then one of the things that is really a factor in how people use as adults and in their life is how early they start. And this information tells us that with 6th graders who reported they've used an electronic nicotine product, 42% of them first used when they were 11 or 12. The 8th graders, 41% reported first use between 11 and 12, and 40 between 13 and 14. And then 11th graders reported that they've ever used. 43 said that they first used when they were 15 or 16, and another 38% said they used when they were 13 or 14. So they're definitely starting younger and younger, and that first use is really indicative of what can happen in the future. Now, I am going to stop sharing, and at least the PowerPoint, I should say. We're going to go to our video.
This is an ad for one of today's hottest products. If you don't look carefully though, you might miss what it's advertising. It's this little thing, and it's called Juul.
Juul looks more like a flash drive or computer device, but it is really another kind of e-cigarette.
Since it launched in 2015, Juul has taken over about 70% of the e-cigarette retail market share. It's now worth about $16 billion, and that success is often attributed to its sleek design. But the same features that make Juul a well-engineered product also make it attractive to young people, many of whom have never smoked before. And that has people worried, because devices like Juul might be designed to help smokers get off cigarettes, but they're also addicting a new generation to nicotine. So what makes this one e-cigarette so different from the rest? Answering that question starts with what you see on the outside. Juul is an e-cigarette, but it really doesn't look like one. It looks like a tech product, and it's tiny. That allows smokers to get a nicotine fix without having to worry about social stigma, but also allows young users to consume nicotine inconspicuously without having to worry about who sees them.
Going to school, having this in your pocket is a lot better than having like something this big that looks kind of like a lightsaber. You know, you could kind of Juul anywhere in discreetness.
That discreetness is a big shift for e-cigarettes. Since the first patent in 1930, designs haven't been very subtle. The first generation of e-cigarettes mimicked the shape, size, and colors of traditional cigarettes, sometimes even with a fake light-up tip. The second and third generations focused on larger and more customizable devices with longer battery life and big plumes of vapor. Then came the Juul, a stripped-down version with no buttons, no big plumes of vapor, and no complex refilling or recharging. And it comes in a variety of bright colors that set it apart from other e-cigarettes, which made it look like a tech product that young people were already familiar with. That is why people call Juul the iPhone of e-cigs. And that similarity makes sense. Juul's founders met at Stanford Design School, and one worked as a design engineer at Apple. They created the first e-cigarette that looked more like a cool gadget and less like a drug delivery device. This wasn't smoking or vaping. It was Juuling.
Yeah, like how grandmas have iPhones now, it's kind of like normal kids have Juuls now. Because it looks so modern, we kind of trust modern stuff a little bit more, so we're like, we can use it. We're not going to have any trouble with it because you can trust it.
The tech aspect definitely helps people get introduced to it. And then once they're introduced to it, they're staying because they're conditioned to like all these different products. And then this is another product. And it's just another product until you're addicted to nicotine.
And that is where it gets tricky. A 2017 study found that 25% of 15 to 24-year-olds recognized the Juul in a photo, but the majority of them didn't know that it always contains nicotine. It's easy to trace that information gap. You just have to look at the ads. When you look at Juul's marketing today, you find video testimonials from adult ex-smokers.
My name is Lauren.
My name is Brandon.
My name is Carolyn.
My name is Aman. I'm 38.
But when Juul first launched, their marketing looked a lot different. When you put those ads alongside old cigarette ads, the similarities are pretty striking. Both marketed relaxation, sharing, travel, freedom, and sex appeal. It's now illegal for cigarette brands to use these kinds of suggestive advertising themes. But for e-cigarette manufacturers who had products on the market before 2016, those strategies are still unregulated. That's why a brand like Candy Pens can be promoted in DJ Khaled music videos, just like tobacco corporations used to pay stars to smoke their cigarettes on screen. But compared to cigarettes, Juuls are a lot easier to start using. Typical e-cigarettes have between 6 and 30 milligrams of nicotine per milliliter of vape liquid. One Juul pod packs in 59 milligrams. That's 3 times the nicotine levels permitted in the European Union, which is why Juul isn't sold there. But here in the US, e-cigarettes don't have the same restrictions, even though we know that nicotine dependency can prime developing brains for future substance abuse disorders. The company says that Juul's nicotine content is about as much as a pack of cigarettes, though tobacco experts say it's likely more than that. And Juuls have a patented system for delivering that nicotine. Most e-cigarettes use a potent version of nicotine called freebase that gives users a strong hit. But Juuls vaporize a liquid made from nicotine salts. Those salts allow nicotine to be absorbed into the body at about the same speed as regular cigarettes, much faster than most e-cigarettes. But unlike freebase nicotine, which can be irritating, nicotine salt goes down smoothly. So Juul packs a bigger nicotine dose into a much more pleasant hit than most devices on the market. And that has public health officials worried, because the US almost beat nicotine addiction among kids.
As cigarette smoking among those under 18 has fallen, the use of other nicotine products, and especially e-cigarettes, has taken a drastic leap.
In April, the FDA demanded that Juul submit documents on its marketing and research. A group of senators sent a letter asking Juul to stop using flavors and designs that appeal to children, and there are now 3 lawsuits alleging that Juul contains too much nicotine. In response to the concerns, the makers of Juul have pledged $30 million to combat underage use. Merchandise and marketing materials now have big warning labels on them, and the company is developing lower nicotine pods. The trouble is, there's still a lot we don't know about the long-term health impacts of e-cigarettes. Juul, like other e-cigarettes, might have set out to design a solution to a public health problem, but in a lot of ways, their product has created a new one.
Okay, now we're going to turn it over to Jenny. She's going to show us some of the actual products and kind of walk us through that.
Do you want to turn the PowerPoint back on, Kathy? Well, I can start while you're working on it. So, yeah, as you can see, e-cigarettes come in a variety of different shapes, sizes, types, colors, flavors. So there are hundreds of brands of e-cigarettes on the market that are sold in local gas stations and online and are easy to get. So I can't show you all of them that are on the market, obviously, but just looking at some of them. So some e-cigarettes, and you can see on the slide, so some are made to look like regular cigarettes, such as Cigalike, or this Mark 10 looks like a regular cigarette. And these were some of the first ones that were on the market, and they were not very popular with youth. And, you know, we had done a lot of work in prevention on letting youth know the harms of cigarette use, of tobacco use. And so these cigarette looking devices did not become popular among youth. And then they also had some resembling pens, you know, such as this one here is a HX series and of the Eco CE4. So many different kinds. This Sticks model. So some might resemble car starters, you know, look like a key fob, watches, other everyday items. There's different tank systems like this Una, which is banana yogurt flavor, by the way. So, you know, some have large batteries, some have tiny batteries, and the larger batteries are going to heat that e-liquid to a much higher degree than, you know, those ones with smaller products. But then we also have rechargeable versus disposable. So your rechargeable ones can look like the Juul, of course, which can be recharged with this computer device. So you can just stick it on there, and that's how you plug it into your computer, and that's how you can recharge the Juul. So those are going to be your rechargeable ones versus your disposable ones, where once they're gone, they go in the garbage, they're done. And so yeah, the main thing about the disposable versus or the rechargeable versus disposable is that once that e-liquid is gone, you throw it away. and there's not a way to add more flavor to it. So there's some that are going to be refillable, which is this, you know, these models with these they have these cartridges that you're able to actually refill with e-juice, it's called. So you can buy e-juice online, you can buy it many places, but you can get different flavors of the e-juice to refill some of the pens. And the most commonly sold ones have pre-filled cartridges or pods. So just like the Juul, it has a pod where you buy these pods and they come pre-filled. You just insert them into the device. And so those are our most popular ones. And along with that, the most commonly sold devices right now in Iowa are, this is from Ashley, who's on maternity leave, but they are the Juice Head products and Esco bars. And there's 2 different types of those. So those are the most popular ones being sold, and they have the pre-filled cartridges. And there also is a difference in e-cigarettes in the way that they can be considered either open or closed systems. So an open system, you add the juice yourself. Like I mentioned, you can buy the e-juice and put it in, fill it up yourself. Or in closed systems, you buy it already pre-filled. So the way that a lot of these companies are able to get away with still selling flavored e-juice is because these are pods that you dispose of after you use. So they're not rechargeable. And that is why they're able to get around that law of not having the flavored pods. So open or closed products can be rechargeable. So this is another very popular one right now, the Elf Bar. And this one is actually called Tropical Rainbow Blast. So as you can see, they're really promoting those fruity flavors. And this is actually the equivalent, this pod that you buy right here, or this device that you buy right here, is actually the equivalent of 400 cigarettes. So the nicotine level. So it's very high amount of nicotine, fruity flavors, and being sold locally, gas stations, vape shops, tobacco shops in our area. So the first 3 examples that you did see on those slides, they're likely just the disposable e-cigarettes. They often do appear like actual filtered cigarettes, but they might not. So puff bars are very common, along with these Soren devices, they're called, are very popular right now. And they are rechargeable, and you just rebuy the pods for those. So that's what's really being used among youth. But really, you don't even know what they might look like anymore. New research does show that greater dependence on e-cigarettes among users due to pod-based devices such as the Juul. Cigarettes emit nicotine at much greater rates. So Juul also claims, compared to other e-cigarettes, that it delivers nicotine to the blood 2.7 times faster. And I know Kathy's going to talk about the difference in the nicotine salts here in a little while. So just to show you a few examples, but you really never know because they come in so many different varieties. And along with that, all the different types of products that or accessories that you can find now. So they're always evolving, and new products are being released all the time that bring different types of nicotine to the market. There's wearable clothes, such as hoodies that you can vape through the strings. You attach the device into the hoodie and you can vape through the strings of the sweatshirt. Backpacks, highlighters that you can vape through. They look like a highlighter, but it's actually a vape. You're inserting your vape into it. So always, just being conscientious that you don't know if somebody looks like they're vaping something, they're probably vaping something. So I think that's all is that all for my slides, Kathy, right here?
It looks like Colleen has a question or something that someone shared.
There's a question in the chat. that I
Mhm.
wanted to make sure we saw. It says, maybe you said it, but about how long do the throwaway ones last, or just one of the pods?
Okay, yeah, great question. So it depends on devices. Different devices are going to be different. So for the Juul, so one of the pods that go in the Juul, that's about a pack worth of cigarettes. And depending how much they're vaping it is going to depend how long it lasts. They say with the elf bars, so these elf bars are BC 5000, so they're supposed to last 5,000 puffs. So it really depends on how often the person is using it, because with cigarettes, you're able to go outside, you go outside, you smoke your cigarette, you're done. Where with vaping, people are able to do it all day long, some, unless they're at school or whatever it might be, but they're able to do it so much more often, and they might not even realize how much they're doing it, that they can go through it a lot more. The people that I've talked to that use the elf bars, which are very popular, say that they charge it about once or twice, and it lasts them 1 to 2 weeks. The equivalent of 400 cigarettes, though. So that's a lot of cigarettes in 1 to 2 weeks still.
Yeah, Jenny, so is there a way that just the average person would be able to look at a Juul or the bars or any of those things to see what that cigarette equivalent is?
So I know these numbers because I got them from Ashley, but even when I went to look at how much an elf bar equivalent, or the equivalent to cigarettes, it's very misleading because it goes off percentages. So it's going to tell you that it's 5% nicotine. That doesn't sound like much to an average person, but that is a lot more nicotine than what you're getting from cigarettes, is what I can say. But every product, again, is going to be different. So it is hard to know how that equivalents to a pack of cigarettes, but every product, you're going to have to kind of do your research and your math on the percentage and how much they're using it, and all those factors play into it.
Yeah, because the vaping industry, people do not want the average consumer to know how much that equivalent is. So they won't put it on their packaging. They'll just put that 5%, and 5% of what? And so, yeah, like you said, you have to do your research.
Okay, we have another question. Wondering how the price compare between vape products and cigarettes.
Okay, so I know that the elf bars are around $30 a piece.
Yeah.
And that is the equivalent of 4,000 cigarettes.
And
so they are cheaper.
Yeah, and Esco bars are between 13 and 15, and yeah, juice heads are between 15 and 20. So
I know that the pods, like the Juul pods, like come in a 1-pack, a 2-pack, and a 4-pack. And like a 1-pack is $9.99, a 2-pack is $15.99, and a 4-pack is $25.99.
Which would be 4 packs of cigarettes.
Right. Where a pack of cigarettes, depending on the brand, can be anywhere from $7 to $10 for a pack.
And
so overall, cheaper.
And that's a definite thing that the industry people realize, is if we make our product look like it is cheaper than cigarettes, then a person's going to buy that because it's cheaper. And they don't understand the health effects. Okay, we're going to get back into the PowerPoint, and you can see here too, again, that those highlighters, that may not be an Iowa top brand in Iowa. I put it on there just so that you could see what it looks like, but I do know the other 3 things that are on that slide are top brands in Iowa. So looking at nicotine, we do understand that already, that it is a drug found in tobacco plants. Oftentimes youth say that they use vaping products because they're anxious or they're having depression issues, and they think that this is going to help them. And in effect, it really doesn't. It makes the problems worse. And that's really seen when they try to quit because of that. You know, the nicotine is going to their brain faster, as we said earlier, and it amplifies those feelings of anxiousness and depression. And so there's a lot going on, and we just have to remember that the CDC has said that vaping products are not safe for youth, young adults, pregnant women, or people who are currently using other tobacco products.
What about mixing it with depression drugs?
I have not heard of any studies that have shown mixing it with depression drugs. But if you think about, if you're using a vaping product that has a high addiction rate, possible addiction rate, or a high amount of nicotine coming into your body, there's a change in your brain already. And then you're taking another drug to help you with your depression. It may not help. Those two mixing together, you don't think would make sense, just knowing basic chemistry and physiology. So
people using depression, you're saying depression, that they're doing it.
yeah. So I don't know if everybody could hear that, but it was a question related to, should somebody that's using a medicine on depression, for depression, should they be using a vaping product? And I would certainly think that they would not fare well together, is a good way to say it. So the video kind of talked a little bit about this freebase nicotine already, and that's kind of that way of traditional combustible cigarettes created nicotine, and part of the effect of that was that there was a harshness on a person's throat and there was coughing. Well, with nicotine salts, there isn't that harshness. But the thing to think about is there's actually an acid that's put into the nicotine salts, which is called benzoic acid, and it helps with that harshness, but it also it's 2 point, as we said earlier, 2.7 times, it's going 2.7 times faster into your brain, the nicotine is. So that's not good at all. And then too, I think that the video kind of alluded a little bit to this. Sometimes people thought, and actually the tobacco industry originally said that this is a vapor and it's good for you. And we all know that if we have a cold and we stand over our heated water and there's a vapor and you smell that you know, you inhale that helps your body. Well, it is not a vapor, it is an aerosol. And the difference between those two is that an aerosol has chemicals in it that are harmful to your body. And so if Jenny looked at what the ingredients are in those products, they more than likely do not list all of the ingredients that are in a vaping product. Many of them can cause harm to our hearts and cause that flight or fight kind of process. It can restrict blood vessels and can increase risks of blood clotting. There can be cardiovascular issues leading to strokes and heart attack. And of course, the negative impact on your lungs. And the flavorings, one thing to think about with all those flavorings that Jenny talked about that sounded so appealing and sounded like you were eating applesauce or bubble gum or something like that, those chemicals it hasn't been studied that you can smell those things and it's one thing, but to inhale them causes a different chemical reaction. And so that can cause problems to your heart and to your lungs. And this is the slide that I think is the most interesting. Just looking at a pack of cigarettes, usually has 20 milligrams of nicotine in them. One Juul pod has twice and a little bit more than that. And then a puff bar has 50 milligrams, which again is quite a bit more than a pack of cigarettes, and a Suron pod, which is a different device that we really haven't seen much so far, that has 90 cigarettes. And so it just shows us the different kinds of the amounts of nicotine that's really in these products. And to, like Jen said, we talked about that 5% is on the packaging. And truthfully, it's like 5% of what? What does that mean? And I think that they're required to put that 5% on there, just to confuse people. Maybe that's not their goal, but it happens. So we've also talked a little bit about these tactics that with their advertising, we've known that the tobacco industry years ago tried to get kids to use combustible tobacco products. They're doing the same thing with vaping products. And they spend millions of dollars targeting youth. Last year in Iowa, the tobacco companies spent over $92 million in marketing, and worldwide $1 million per hour. That's a lot of money. And two, with those flavors that we talked about, they try to make that appealing so that kids see that it's kind of a normal thing, that, like somebody said, you see it on the television, you see it on music videos, everywhere. It appears to be normal and the thing to do. And especially when celebrities are doing it, we know the impact of that. And then nicotine too, we've just talked about the concentration of nicotine that's in the products. This information is from the National Youth Tobacco Survey, and I really appreciate that it brings out the idea that with high schoolers and middle schoolers, that 1 in 4 of them is using e-cigarettes every day. That's a big number. And then two, the most commonly used device is disposables, and almost 85% use of flavored e-cigarette. So those are some things to kind of keep in mind as well. Oh, we've got another myth or fact. So here we go. The only toxic chemical in vape juice is nicotine. Myth or fact? What do you think? This room says myth. What does the chat say, Queen?
Well, we're all saying myth, but we can also see it, so.
Oh, there it is in the next little thing. How about that? You guys are all so good. So there are over 31 chemicals or more that are in those products, including like formaldehyde and some metals and that kind of stuff that they're not meant to be ingested into our bodies. So, okay. And we talked again about the advertising. When it's cheap, it's something that you folks want to buy. There was a product that Views brand created a little bit ago, and the device had a power unit kit in it, and it only cost 99 cents. So when there's things that just cost little to nothing, you think, let's take a thrill, let's do it. And look how appealing these are, you know, and even the way that it's advertised, a low price of $19.99. All flavors, 6,000 puffs. So there it all is, 6,000 in 1999. Yeah. And then those flavors again, I love seeing these pictures because it just tells me, like, who do you think they're trying to get to buy Watts? What does that look like? The one on the left. What does it make you think of? Another product that is applesauce, yeah. And the red one looks like whipped cream. I don't know what that, maybe, I don't know what that bomb pot, whoa, it's a bomb. Yeah, there we go. And Candy King, is that worms? Oh my goodness sakes, I didn't even see that one. So there is a lot of appeal to youth and to this is okay. If you can eat applesauce, you can do this, because that's what folks sometimes think. Some chemistry that affects youth. There are 3 different types or sources of nicotine. The first is the one that we're more familiar with, which is the tobacco plant. And it's the traditional way that we've heard for years and years, and it has a high concentration of nicotine. The second option is called nightshades, and it is developed from plants like tomato plants and peppers. Who knew? I was doing that in my garden this summer. Then the third type or source of nicotine is called synthetic or lab-made nicotine. And that nicotine, that way to create nicotine has not been available, or it's been created, but it hasn't been economical for folks to do until about 2002. That it became available and economic so that the vaping industry really boomed at that point. And that was too about the time that they switched over from the vaping products looking like a cigarette to looking like an electronic device. And did anybody else, did that comment that the person made resonate with you that said, we trust technology? You know, and some of us older people kind of shudder because we don't trust it so much, but we shudder from the sense that that's what young people think, and that's who we care about. So, and then this just goes into some history, which we've already described a lot of this. And the thing that I will say is it is super confusing because when a product is developed, then the vaping industry goes, oh, they're not going to let me do this. So they get away, they do something different and change it so that their product is still used, but it doesn't fall under the regulation that was just passed. And so you can see there was definitely a progression with the FDA being the entity that is looking at this and trying to regulate it and trying to help people be safe. But the tobacco industry and vaping industry is driven by money, and they are trying to get their products sold. So that's the thing that's really difficult, is they're kind of getting ahead of every time a regulation is made, they think of a way to not adhere to it and get their products sold. And there's a lot of confusion too with, oh, is this regulated? Is that regulated as well? A question that we're not getting asked as much, but people are starting to understand, is that e-cigarettes are not safe and none of the vaping products are safe. And that recognizing that nicotine is a highly addictive drug and that the nicotine concentration in each of these products is very high. So that's the thing that we have to keep in mind. And then I don't know if anybody asked about this yet, but can e-cigarettes be used to vape other substances? And they certainly can. So as Jenny was showing those juices that you can put in the disposal or in the products, you can put whatever your imagination gets you to do into those. And so marijuana is a common substance that's put in to a vaping product, but there are others. So, and how do we know if someone is using, and these are more things to look for, I guess would be a good way to say that. And you can see here, you know, the fruity smell, dry mouth, the increased thirst, unusual devices or things that you see technology wise that you don't understand, online purchases. And that's something to really watch for is, you know, so many things can be bought online because it can be done in a manner that a parent or loved one may not see. So be aware of what is coming in those purchases, and frequent bathroom breaks, or going to another place to get away and sneak a vaping in, a hit in. I was trying to think of what the word is. I couldn't come up with it. And then to this desire for flavor, the person using their taste buds are affected over time. And so they may be looking for where's the cayenne pepper and where's this, to kind of spice up their flavor in their foods. And breathing into a sleeve or a collar. So there, if you go onto a vaping site where you can purchase things, there are actual sweatshirts that you can buy that the vaping thing comes out of the collar or out of the sleeve. And so there can be lots of creativity. And the other thing related to that, maybe having their head facing down to their lap or their belt so that they're bent over a little bit to get to their device that they're using. And then two signs of addiction can be part of that too, especially if they don't have their product and they're irritable and can be restless and have difficulty concentrating and being depressed or frustrated, and outbursts of anger. So those can be things that you could look for. And this says in a youth, but that would be anyone. And talking to youth, this is the briefest version I'm ever going to do about how to talk to kids. Be patient, be ready to listen. Ask what they think, because they do value, you should value their opinion, and be open and honest. Talk They Hear You is a wonderful resource that is very good to look up on the internet and get some conversation starters and get some really good information. And I highly encourage you to check that out. And then some resources. Quitline Iowa is for adults. It is available through calling, through their phone system, through their website. It can double someone's chances of quitting. And if a person doesn't have insurance or is low income, they go to Quitline Iowa and they can get some coaching and some different things, and can really get some help for quitting any kind of tobacco. And then for younger folks, 13 to 17-year-olds, there's My Life, My Quit. And Ashley, who we've referred to several times, is our tobacco coordinator, and she has been very vocal in wanting to have this resource be available for youth younger than 13, because as we saw, the data shows that they are using, but she's not sure where the hangup is, but she keeps working on that.
Secondhand smoke. What about secondhand vape?
That is a concern, secondhand, getting that aerosol is a concern. And there have been studies that have shown that is a concern with not only inhaling it, but animals, it can have an effect on them. And then young children who are, crawling around on and that kind of stuff, those chemicals are in the air and on your furniture and on your carpet.
I
And
heard
stuff.
that referred to as third-hand smoke. Have you heard that? Just with the chemicals getting into other things,
Mhm.
furniture, or they give you a hug and it rubs off. The
Yeah.
textbook and health that they're using right now, going through stuff, refer to it as third hand smoke.
Yeah.
Or second hand, and now they're calling it third hand.
Right.
It's rubbing off.
Yep. Yep.
And it doesn't wash off.
Yep.
And if I can touch on that real quick too, Kathy. So a lot of that research is not there yet. You know how long it took us for you to get to, we know about third hand smoke now from cigarettes. So a lot of that research we don't have yet. It will come. But what we do know is, regardless of the way that these products were marketed as a cessation device, is it better than smoking? For adults, maybe it is better than smoking, but we don't have those results yet. But we do know for youth, these high amounts of nicotine levels are definitely worse. And that's what we do know right now.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. I was just looking at the time and seeing that it is 7:30 right now. So I am going to send you that video that is about my life, my quit. It's a very good video, but it is about 5 minutes, so I don't want to keep you that long. I do want to say that I'm trying to get this to go to back to our slideshow from
We see it, Kathy.
Okay. Anyway, community coalitions, is that what it's showing now?
Yes.
It's not on ours. There must be a delay or something. But anyway, there are coalitions in each of the counties that are working on some of these issues. So if it's something that this has hit a chord for you, that you want to get active and do some things related to these things, that you can go to the community coalitions and get some work done with that. And then Your Life Iowa, Sam Jenner-John, who is the Delaware County mentoring coordinator, she and I are under a grant that we can do presentations on Your Life Iowa, which has wonderful resources, and we'd be happy to do that. We have some upcoming trainings coming up, but not anything until March. And we do want you to go online and go to this evaluation and do that right now. And for you guys in the room, right, it's on your thing there. In there. Can you see it where it says vaping evaluation?
No, it's on the 30.
Who has
Yeah.
any questions that they want? So go to ahead and do that get to,
right
and if
now.
anyone needs to leave because it's past our time, feel free to do that. We're so happy everybody came, and ask questions that you've got.
So Kath, it's Cindy. So I mean, obviously I'm of an older generation now, but I mean, how do you even control this when everything looks like, for the youth that, I mean, I'm thinking if I taught school or something like that, how could I even recognize some of these products? And, the kids could be doing right there in the classroom.
Yeah, they certainly could be. And we actually have 2 school personnel in our room here. And I don't know if they want to speak to, I'm sure it's like everything that you guys just have to be hypersensitive to what you see, and if people are acting suspicious or, changes in behavior.
I think all but 2 of my students have drinking vessels that they bring to school that are that big or bigger that sit on their desk. So to say that they're thirsty, I mean, and they fill them all the time. Can I go fill this? Can I go fill this? I'm like, is that really empty? No, I need it cold. I need it cold. And one girl went to the bathroom 4 times in the morning, and I said, I'm sending you to the nurse. The next time they ask, I'm sending you to the nurse because you must have a bladder infection.
Yeah, that's a lot
And
of
she didn't
drink.
have a bladder infection. So then we called mom and said, she's gone to the, and she hasn't been using the bathroom as much anymore. But I'm like, I wanted the nurse to strip search her.
Yeah. And you probably want to open up the container too and see if you can smell anything too. Whoa, that's a concern. Yeah. Well, and you think about too, thirst is an indicator for many kinds of health issues too. So, yeah. And I think too that one of the things we need to take away from tonight isn't, oh my gosh, this is horrible, I can't handle it. It is, now I am more knowledgeable. Now I know more information, and it makes it ever more important that we are an open-minded person and that we talk to the youth that we care about and talk to them about concerns that we have. You can even say to somebody, hey, I went to this training thing last night and this is what I learned. What's going on in your school? What do you hear about this? It can be a good conversation starter.
I just want to add, this is Sam Jenner John here in Delaware County. I can't speak on all schools, but I do know that a lot of schools have like vape detectors put in the bathrooms and locker rooms.
Oh.
I know that like a lot of schools were working on getting like a grant to get those put in, but then those go off when they detect the vape smoke. So I do know that there's some schools here in Delaware County that have that. Like I said, I can't speak for all, but I do know that that's like a new thing that schools are doing to kind of help, since, yeah, you know, going to the bathroom, going to the locker room, hiding out in those places that are less populated is kind of where they're putting them. And I see in the group chat that Amanda had put Waukon has those too. So I do know more schools are getting those to try to help the vaping problem that's going on in the schools.
Yeah. And I know too, Howard Wynn is good about referring youth to the My Life, My Quit. They have that in their policy.
They came and talked to me weeks ago.
Cool. Awesome.
So what is in school, just out of curiosity, what kind of, I mean, if you get caught vaping, what happens?
I'm sure it depends on the school and what their policies are, but I can't speak to that. Do you guys know?
I know some got in school, but
Yeah.
from that, I don't know.
Contacting parents.
Yep.
Depending on if they're
3
supplying.
people from school.
Depending on if they're supplying or not, like sometimes the police are involved.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it depends on, if they're supplying or if they're just using or, And
Okay, so there are consequences. I mean, it's like drinking at school or whatever. Okay.
Yep, definitely. All right. Well, I think that we will sign off because we are going over time here, but thanks everybody for coming, and we genuinely appreciate your ideas and your input and your insight and your caring for youth. So have a good evening.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.